What's going on, everybody? Tom here with Black Sheep Keto, and welcome to another free ketogenic recipe just for you subscribers out there. And if you're not a subscriber yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to help the YouTube algorithm show people my videos. Now today, I just got home from work and I'm cooking some dinner, and today we're having a smothered pork chop, and it's smothered in a sour cream and cognac style sauce. Absolutely delicious. It's actually a tweak on a recipe that I had in my cookbook, but I find this one to be a little bit more elevated and it's just evolved over time. Now before we get into the video, just a couple of quick things. First of all, written recipe and macros as always will be found in the description box below. And quick big announcement, as of yesterday, myself and the rest of the Black Sheep Keto team just picked up our tickets to go to the Las Vegas Keto Expo. I think it's been the first Keto Expo in 2 years. That'll be taking place in October here in my hometown of Las Vegas. I'm very excited about that. We're not speaking or cooking or anything there, but I am going to be there hanging out if you guys want to come hang out and say hi. I'll put their website on the screen right now. With that, let's go and get into today's video for a smothered pork chop. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get rolling here on our keto smothered pork chops. Now, first things first, I have this pan right here. I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of olive oil right into there. And we're gonna go ahead and turn this on to medium-high heat. Obviously, this depends on your stove. And while that's heating up, let's go ahead and season our pork chops. So right here I have 4 pork chops. These are quite thick chops, and I like using thicker chops for this recipe. And we're just gonna start with a little bit of salt and pepper. Don't really measure my salt and pepper. There's not much to it there. I just kind of sprinkle it over till it looks good. But bear in mind that as this salt and pepper comes off in our pan, it's gonna be used to season our sauce. So I do go a little bit heavier on it. And in this little container right here, I have about a ½ teaspoon of ground sage. I think sage and pork goes amazing together, so I'm just gonna go ahead and sprinkle this on there. If you have it in a shaker, go ahead and just shake it on, but I don't have that, so I'm just gonna sprinkle it. And of course, we are gonna wanna do both sides, but you probably don't need to see me do that, so I'll catch up with you guys after I've seasoned the other side. So now our pork chops are seasoned with some salt, pepper, and ground sage, and our pan is nicely heated up. So go ahead and put these in the pan. It's gonna be about 4 to 5 minutes on each side. You wanna aim for that internal temperature of about 145 degrees Fahrenheit, according to the FDA. Obviously, consult your local health food agency to determine the proper cooking temperature where you live, but for us in the US, they recommend 145 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's what I'm gonna aim for. So it'll be between 4 and 5 minutes on each side, depending on how thick your chop is. Now while these are cooking, it's gonna be a good time for me to go ahead and pull out the ingredients for our sauce. But you guys at home, feel free to check out the description box below where I have some awesome discounts from some companies that help support the channel. So if you guys are interested in 15% off of Golden Ratio coffee or 10% off over at Kiss My Keto, go ahead and check out the description box down below. All right, my thermometer just beeped at me telling me that these are at 145 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're gonna go ahead and take them and put them on a fresh, clean plate so we can set them aside. So now that those are out of there, you see all this delicious flavor that is cooked onto our pan. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 2 tablespoons of cognac. That's right, I found something that Hennessy is actually useful for. And we're gonna use that to deglaze the pan. Now all the alcohol is gonna burn off, but it is gonna leave some awesome flavor behind. So watch out and toss it right in there. Now that pan is nice and deglazed, we're gonna go ahead and toss in 2 tablespoons of butter. So our butter is melted in with those pan drippings and cognac. So now we're gonna add 1 whole medium onion that I've just kind of cut into little strips and toss that right into that pan. Now this, we're just gonna cook until the onions get to be tender. So I'll catch up with you when that's done. Now as your onions are getting close to done, as you can see here, they're caramelizing nicely, but there's a few of them that aren't quite caramelized yet. This is about the point where I like to add my garlic. I don't want to add it too soon because you can overcook the garlic, but right now I'm going to be adding in 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. It's about 3 cloves if you're mincing it yourself. And then just go ahead and mix that in. So at this point, all of our onion is going to be tender and most of it's caramelized. There are some bigger chunks because I wasn't that careful when I was chopping it up that haven't fully caramelized, but that's totally fine as long as they're tender. So we're gonna move on here to finishing up the sauce. Now what I have right here is 1 cup of chicken stock. Go ahead and just pour that right in. Then we're gonna add in 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. 1/4 cup of sour cream, and lastly, 1 tablespoon of brown mustard. I absolutely love mustard on pork. It actually, when I make my smoked pork butts, I marinate them the night before with the dry rub and coat it in mustard. Not to mention, I find the flavor of sour cream and cognac to go together really well. And go ahead and give this a mixing. Now I'm going to raise my heat to a medium. You want to be a little bit careful with the heat here because if you overheat this, you can cause the fats to separate in the sauce. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but it doesn't look great if that happens. And the last thing I'm going to do is, if you can do this without, dumping your pork chops everywhere, I like to take the bit of juice down there on the bottom of the plate. No, that's not blood. I know on the camera it looks a little bit red, but it's not. Just go ahead and dump that right in, because all of that's just extra flavor. Now at this point, we're going to let our sauce simmer for about 5 minutes, just stirring occasionally until it thickens up. Again, be careful of the heat so your sauce doesn't break, and then I'll catch up with you guys when we add our pork chops back in. So I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, everybody, at this point, my sauce has thickened sufficiently. If you go ahead and mix it around, you'll see it's gotten quite thick there. It's kind of satisfying to watch it all fill out, isn't it? Anyway, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my heat. And it's time to touch up the seasoning a little bit. Now, since cooking like this is more of an art than a science, baking is more of a science, but cooking like this is pretty artful. Get yourself a clean spoon and just give that sauce a taste and see what you think of it. So for me, I think it needs a little bit of salt and pepper, just a hair. Everybody's taste buds are a little bit different, but make sure you do this after it's reduced, otherwise you're gonna concentrate that flavor and could end up something really salty. So I'm just gonna go ahead and season it to taste. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And one of my personal favorite things, white pepper. This stuff's very potent, so I just put a little dash of it in there and get this all mixed together. That'll do. So now what I would normally do is transfer these chops back to the pan and then just take the whole thing to the table if I'm serving, a bunch of guests. But since I am going to be photographing this, I'm just going to go ahead and lay the pork chop on my plate, pour it over the top. Either one is a perfect method for serving this. And speaking of photographs, let me put the finished product up on the screen right now, and then I will catch up with you all for the taste test. So now that you guys have seen the recipe and the finished product, it is time for the taste test. Now on this little plate right here, I have something that they refer to as an hors d'oeuvre, and they'll charge you $40 for this if you head to the Strip just a few miles away. In all seriousness, I just wanted to cut this up so that you guys didn't laugh at me struggling to one-handed cut a pork chop. In any case, let's go ahead and give this a bite. You guys, I'm so happy with how this recipe has evolved. The cognac and the sour cream really complement each other. I love the flavor of mustard and sage on pork. Just all my favorite flavors combined into one dish. It's absolutely phenomenal. You guys just have to try this to know what I'm talking about. Again, the full written recipe and macros are down in the description box below. But with that, I am going to go ahead and close the video. So if you like this video, please leave it a like. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that for me, leave them in the comment section. If you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do that. And before we go, I would just like to give a huge thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon that are going to be helping me get a new camera because this one is sort of dying. With that, I will see you all in the next one.